Well, as Australia looks towards a future post-coronavirus, refugee advocates are pushing for reforms to see greater benefits for both new arrivals and the communities they live in. They're calling for Australia to introduce a community sponsorship model similar to Canada. But how would this work? Well, to explain, we're joined by Professor Peter Shergold, who led a recent review into the sector, and former South Sudanese refugee and now lawyer, Nyadol Norn. To both of you, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Can I start with you, Nyadol? When you arrived here as a refugee to Australia, talk us through, just give us a sense as we mark Refugee Week, what it meant to you and what that experience was like.
Well, initially it was just an opportunity to get to meet other people after being a new arrival in the country. But I mean, the journey to come to Australia as refugee is one that is quite joyous because you are. At that time, I was living in a refugee camp with my family, my mom, seven siblings, and one was born here, and two uncles. It was a pretty tough life. I really couldn't wait to get out. And we were lucky to be one of the people that came through another initiative of the Australian government through the humanitarian program, but sponsored by a family member. And we arrived here in 2005.
And the both of you have been suggesting that this Canadian experience is something that Australia could learn from. Peter, are you able to fill us in on it?
Yes, well, you know, I've been a Coordinator General for Refugee Resettlement in New South Wales since 2015. I know, groovy title. But in that, I have been able to help bring government agencies together to work better with political support across the spectrum, and had a wonderful opportunity to work with great frontline community organisations. But the thing that struck me over the last 4 or 5 years is the extent to which ordinary Australians want to help, want to extend a hand of friendship, and want to find out how to do so. And that's particularly with many regional communities who don't get refugees. So people have been asking me, how can we help? So when we then wrote that report to the government last year, we supported and proposed an additional community sponsorship initiative where communities can come together, you know, from the local councillors and the sporting associations, school principals, religious leaders, you know, Country Women's Association, and say together as a community, we would like to sponsor some refugee families to come here. And we give this commitment that we together will help to make that work.
In your report that was delayed being released and there was lots of questions about it, you'd put forward 7 recommendations to try and improve the lot of refugees. Have things improved?
Well, the Commonwealth has now appointed its own Coordinator General of Settlement, so I think that's improved. I mean, one of my key recommendations, of course, is for us as a nation to take pride in the record we have on refugees. The fact we've successfully settled more than 800,000 refugees since the Second World War. And of course, one of my key messages is that it's great that pre-COVID we were increasing the number of people being accepted under the special humanitarian program. But let's be a bit innovative. Let's do a little bit of trialling. Let's see if we can harness this goodwill at the community level and allow communities to work with government, as in Canada, to sponsor refugees.
And Nyadol, just briefly, I'm sorry we're running out of time, but do you have hope about what might lie ahead Australia's path? It's been such a divisive issue in this country.
Well, sadly, I don't think it has to be a divisive issue. I think supporting people in need, like refugees, is the right thing to do. And I think the settlement of refugees from the 50s, the 60s, and even the recent refugees that have arrived here has shown that it is a successful process and that people do contribute to the Australian society in many ways. I think that the way that this has taken on politics, it has made it difficult to make the case for why we should support more refugees. But this particular program is really one that can do with both parties. It doesn't really rely on politics. It's a very common sense process of allowing people within the community who has the ability to do so to be able to sponsor people and bring them here. And supplement the existing program that we have here in Australia.
Yeah, look, thank you very much to both of you for joining us this morning, Peter and Nigel. Appreciate your thoughts.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.